Welcome back to day 24 of the 100 Horror Films in 31 Days. Today I got in 4 films, starting with The Cat o' Nine Tails, 1971. This is the middle film of the Animal trilogy of Dario Argento's Gialli. And this film stars 2 great actors, James Franciscus and Carl Malden. Carl Malden plays Cookie, this blind ex-newspaper reporter who happens to overhear a blackmail scheme. And he runs into James Franciscus, who is actually a newspaper reporter. And together, they're trying to solve some murders that are in and around this wonder drug that's been created by the Terzi Institute at XYY. It's a chromosome that they've been able to identify that would predict in advance people that might have a penchant for killing other people. It's a really good story. It's a compelling story. The Cat o' Nine Tails represents the story is a number of different subplots and clues that the 2 newspaper reporters are chasing down to try to solve the murders. It's more of a kind of an analogy than it is an actual. There's no real cat. It's just it's representative of a different storyline, multiple different storylines going on, and clues that these newspaper reporters are chasing down. It's a very sophisticated story. I really liked it. I mean, it's got a lot of meat on the bones in terms of keeping your attention. And I've seen it multiple times, but each time I find something new and unique about it. Luigi Cozzi wrote the screenplay and the storyline behind this. Apparently, Dario Argento was not very enamored with this film. I don't know why, but it's not his favorite of the series. It's actually my favorite giallo of Dario Argento's. I think it's a complex story that really, of all the films, it goes more for a meaty storyline than it goes for flashy, artsy special effects or iconic kills. So from that standpoint, it's really different than the others. And of course, the acting, Carl Malden and James Franciscus, I think, I may feel differently about it had they not been in it, but they are in it, and they were fantastic. Of course, this Arrow release has chock full of special features. It's got a new audio commentary with Kim Newman, which I can't wait to hear. Here's the Blu-ray and the DVD. Ennio Morricone with the soundtrack. Awesome as usual. And of course, the obligatory thick book with the small font. Awesome stuff, Cat o' Nine Tails. I give it a 9 out of 10. This is my favorite giallo of Argento's. Next up, 1999's Desecration. Dante Tomaselli. This is his directorial debut. He did a short, which he basically moved into creating it and expanding it as a feature film. It's about a boy that lost his mother, and then he accidentally kills a nun in a really kind of a silly sequence of events. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's ludicrous. After that happens, he's basically tainted from a religious standpoint, and now he over a series of events. Now, after killing this nun, he's entering the gates of hell, which can be described not pretty. I mean, it's not hell literally. Everything around him, however, feels like hell in terms of people looking possessed and odd things going on. It's a low-budget independent film from 1999. I think it's a good one-time watch. I give it a 6 out of 10. I don't know that it's going to hold up to repeat viewings. This is a Code Red release, and it's got a number of special features. It was a decent one-time watch. Not great. Next up, 1985's Silver Bullet. Stephen King and Gary Busey. The director of this film went on to direct his kind of strange name. The director of this film went on to Daniel Attias. He went on to do some 6 Feet Under and The Sopranos episodes, interestingly enough. The film is kind of burdened by the werewolf costume. Looks like a guy in a Halloween costume. It was not great, but apparently after listening to the commentary track with the director, it turns out that this was a limited budget and a limited amount of time, and I think they did the best they could. It doesn't look bad, but there's moments, particularly with the transformation scenes, that's really bad. But it's cheesy fun. It's not bad, like off-putting. It's still a fun movie. And anything Gary Busey is in is going to work. I love Gary Busey. And apparently he was kind of on the downside of his career when he got hired to do this film. And the director or the producer, one of them, really took a chance with him and actually demanded to have him. He was kind of being blacklisted because of his personal issues prior to this film, from what I understand. And I'm glad they took a chance on him, because I think without him, this movie would be really schlock. But again, it's a great story, great acting, particularly from Gary Busey, and then it's just kind of pulled down by the special effects and the werewolf costume, which thankfully they keep the shots of the werewolf to a minimum, thankfully. But yeah, it's a fun story. It's a pretty weak entry in the Stephen King filmology, but not bad. I mean, I give it a 6 out of 10. And then finally, last but not least, I broke out this deluxe edition of Last House on the Left, Wes Craven, 1971 classic. Of course, this is the film that David Hess, not only does he write, I think he wrote all the music in this thing, but he, of course, is the lead actor, Krug. Krug and his 2 compatriots basically go on a murder spree, run into these 2 girls and do all kinds of terrible things, torture them, and then kill them. And then they happen to run into the mother and father of one of the daughters. Now, what are the odds of that? And you can imagine what happens when they stay at the house. It's a rape revenge film, and there was a bunch of these that came out. This one led the way, along with I Spit on Your Grave. This release is outstanding. I mean, man, oh man. I mean, this is the definitive release of Last House on the Left. Look at all the special features on this thing. The picture quality is incredible. I mean, Arrow really knocked it out of the park with this thing. You've got a poster and then a super thick, the obligatory super thick booklet that goes into discussions about the film. There's our buddy David Hess. He was fantastic in this. You actually have a couple cuts of the film. You have the theatrical cut. There's also the soundtrack in this thing. I've seen it a bunch of times, as probably most of you have as well. I watched the pre-theatrical release edition, which I really didn't see any difference. I mean, honestly, I didn't see any difference between that and the theatrical cut. But I'm sure there is differences. I just didn't notice them. But wow, it's a film. It's obviously a troubling film in a lot of respects. But it's not a great film. And it's not a great film because of the 2 cops. I'm interested in hearing. I've got another Blu-ray of this, and I've listened to the commentaries on that, and I'm trying to remember what Wes Craven, how he justified the Abbott and Costello comic relief, the 2 cops. There's a number of comic relief scenes with these 2 cops that are just off-putting. They just kind of ruin the mood for me, and I think many others. I think it's a common complaint about this film. I'm interested in seeing checking out these special features to see if we can ever get into some insight into what the thought process was there. I mean, typically directors that throw comic relief in horror films do it because they feel like if you bombard the audience with constant tension building trauma and brutality and those type of things, it's kind of a standard device to throw in something to relieve the tension for a minute. But if that's the thought process, I guess there's some historical background for doing that. But it fails. It really ruins the film, in my opinion. You do it once, but not 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I mean, the cops are just idiots, and excuse me, they are, they run out of gas. It just ruins it. You go from these scenes of brutality and rape to these two idiots. I mean, and it's not even funny. It's not funny. I don't know what is it intended to be some kind of relief for the audience. It just ends up messing up the film, in my opinion. So I give Last House on the Left a 7 out of 10. It's obviously an important film, an historically important film, but it's just not a good film, and it's mainly because of the script and writing into the script these two idiot cops that they just spend too much time with the cops. So but I tell you what, it's a pristine copy, beautiful restoration of a very important film, but not a very good film. It's not bad. I give it a 7 out of 10. But it's not good. All right, well, that'll do it for day 24. Appreciate you watching.